Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a new stream. Today we're gonna finally start the new painting. Finally starting with the new schedule, and that is one painting a week, spread over two live streams, one on Monday and one on Friday. Starting a bit late today. The planning was to start an hour earlier, so stream is probably going to be a little bit shorter, but we'll see. Hopefully, we can stream for quite a while. It depends. We'll see. We'll just get started and we'll get going, and we'll see where we end up. So yeah, a new painting today. I really like this ID. There's one problem. I have no clue about what to paint. So yeah, that's something we have to figure out. We could just just start scribbling away and then sort of let that decide where we end up. I'm not sure if I want to start with a line drawing. It certainly can help a lot. So maybe I will. But I don't know. It's probably a cool idea to sort of use a different method each week, or try to use a different method. Although I use a lot of the methods all together, so it's not that I stick to one sort of a working method about a single painting. I usually switch it up quite a bit. So yeah, what do we want to paint? Do we want some fantasy or sci-fi, or just some existing stuff? I don't know. Do we want indoor, outdoor? I probably should have thought about it beforehand, but I was a bit late with other stuff, and so I didn't really have time, and I really wanted to get going. So I thought, you know what, I will figure it out on the fly. Usually that works out quite well. So, but not sure if that's my brain is kind of foggy. So, yeah, that doesn't help. Let's. I have an ID. Let's. I don't know. Do I have an ID? Let's see. Could look into sort of a picture database. I probably should expand it. We could maybe do later down the line as sort of a relaxed Q&A stream. But then before we do that, the channel has to grow. Maybe if you hit 1,000 subscribers, if we will even hit that at some point. I hope we do. I really hope that we can continue growing. I also plan to stream longer in the future, if that fits with other plans of me. But I thought we could take a picture with a nice color palette and either throw it on there just as our base color and start painting from that, or color pick from it and then get going. I really like this one, the blue and the orange, sort of the contrast. It's probably used quite a lot, the blue and the orange in entertainment industry, but it is a nice contrast. My Photoshop for some reason has slowed down considerably the last week. I don't know whether it's a hardware issue or a software issue, so it sometimes it doesn't really respond really well. Still figuring out how to fix it, but for now we'll have to do with a sort of a little bit less performance. Yeah, what do we want to do with this? Could just blur it a little bit. It's just a preset kind of blur. Because I don't really want the stars, I just want the color. Problem is, usually I do a motion blur, but if you do a motion blur, it isn't that bad. Let's go with the motion blur. Let's just collapse this layer. No, we cannot because we locked it. Let's not lock this layer. Let's just collapse this. This is our background now, and let's lock this so we do not accidentally paint on that. Let's just get going and just start painting some stuff on it. I don't know if we'll get anywhere, but as you can see, that the brush is really slow. So I think that's probably gonna help. Image size is quite big, so let's sort of go to half the size, so 3000 pixels wide. That's quite small, but since this is the rough start of the painting, we can increase the size to be a bit larger later. Probably want to start with some darker silhouettes here. Some lighter sky. Some mountains. Or just buildings. We could do buildings. Let's just start with sort of a line drawing. The slow performance is really bothering me because usually I just grab a big brush and just start throwing down some colors and some stuff, but the performance is okay-ish. It's not perfect, it's not great, but not terrible. But yeah, I can't really figure out whether it's a hard drive issue or a graphics card issue or a processor, the CPU. So I don't know. Or maybe a software issue. So I probably should reinstall Photoshop to sort of make sure that everything keeps working when I reinstall it. And the thing is, I don't know whether it's true, but Photoshop said, not Photoshop, YouTube says, and I don't know whether you can confirm this, but YouTube says my stream is offline. Now it says I'm back online. I had this last Monday as well, so maybe the issues are sort of related to each other. Could be my motherboard. I hope not. Well, my motherboard would be the least problematic, I guess. Never went offline since the start. Ah, great. Alright. So YouTube is lying to me. That's great, YouTube. Thank you. So that's really. I should just trust OBS and not YouTube. Because OBS says it's fine. I dropped a couple of frames, but not too many. And OBS says that everything is good. But YouTube keeps sort of complaining that the stream is going offline. As you can probably clearly see, I really don't have a clue what I'm doing currently. I'm just throwing down some colors and hope for the best. Which isn't the best way to work, of course. But sometimes you can get really interesting results. I hope today is it's like that. I'm not sure whether I want sort of this to be sunlight. I think I do. I think I want this to be sunlight. Yeah. So I think we can top a little bit lighter. Say something like this. Probably much. Oh, it's probably fine. This is way too much. Less saturated, probably. There we go. Let's make it blue. It doesn't really change the color that much, but I don't know, it doesn't change the color. This is the blue one, and if I set it to red, yeah, the color actually changes. Yeah, quite a lot actually. Want the blue color. Hmm. Let's start with the background first, because if I start on the foreground, the background is gonna be a pain. I always get the order wrong. I always start on the foreground, and then I have to fit in a background somehow, and that never really works out. So let's do that first. I think I want this purplish color for the mountains. Today it's probably going to take a little bit longer to properly sort of set up the painting and to actually really get started. Well, first off, I don't really have any idea what I'm doing. I still don't have an idea. I still don't know whether I want just a landscape or buildings or city, fantasy or sci-fi. It's just not coming, but I'll keep painting. It will come eventually. You can always sort of go back to sort of a default setting. Well, at least I hope I can do that. I want some mountains in the background there. I think I'm just gonna cheat a little and throw in some texture. It's a good one. This could probably work. Can I open with? Right, I accidentally closed my folder there. Key to. Well, we're done. That's good. It's a perfect painting, right? It's looking great. Let's not do that. Just use it as a way to. Oops. Didn't want that. The way to fill up background. Something around here. This. And select a different layer setting. Layer window is way too big. Smaller. If I can actually grab the side. Yeah. Probably the overlay or. Yeah, usually soft light works quite well for things like this. And we can sort of integrate this. Yeah. Let's erase a little bit of it at the bottom. Sort of blend it a little bit better. We have to paint over it anyway, so let's use a brush to paintbrush. Probably probably, if I collapse this, that, there we go. Lock this one, start a new layer. I always like to keep the number of layers as small as possible. It helps with the performance. Well, usually it should help, but hopefully it still does. It's just a tiny bit laggy, the brush. Even sort of these small brush strokes. So there's definitely an issue somewhere. I think you probably can't even see it on stream, unless I do a very big brush stroke. So then it's really obvious. But the small ones you can't really see, but you can definitely sort of feel it when you're painting. Yeah, that was a bit of sort of cheating to cheat in a nice little background for our painting. I think I want a big sort of almost Grand Canyon-like canyon here. So that's the first idea that sparked. So finally, we're 15 minutes in and finally got an idea. It's about time. And we probably have to quite bold here and sort of there's a lot of sunlight, then sun is hitting those sort of the highest mountains. Yeah, and then we'll have a bunch of sunlight here as well. Let's make that sort of canyon. Like that color here. Maybe it's like this big here. So really sort of big one. So we look into the canyon. And yeah, let's do that. And then we have sort of houses at the edge of the canyon. Kind of cool. All haphazardly built all over the place. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Let's do that. Just speed things up a little bit here. The brush allows it. It's okay-ish. Not sure. Yeah, that's probably maybe we don't. Oops, I painted that as well, of course. Maybe there is no sunlight there, but it is sort of artificial light coming from the canyon. Let's do that. And then we can keep this purple stuff and the purple and the white. And yeah, that's kind of cool. And yeah, let's make it a canyon. And the city sort of is in the canyon, but also sticks out all the way up to there. Yeah, kind of like that. Could have chosen a lower view. Maybe we still can if we make it like this. Change that. Or we can. So instead of making this the edge, you're gonna have the edge here and here. This is the edge of the canyon, and this is all the background. So we need to tone down that a little bit, detail and stuff like that. I think we can darken it as well. Much. Something like that. Yeah, I finally have an ID. That's great. It took some time, but now let's actually start painting that ID. So we want buildings here. And we need, it's all vertical. I don't think this brush is really fit for that the painting style. Yeah, the canyon sort of stops there. And I would just have to sort of start. Just gonna start with really simple shapes and different colors, and I want quite some color variation, maybe a little bit more color variation than I usually have. I think my paintings are quite monochromatic a lot of the time, but let's try to bring in some color variation. We really have to get this sort of vertical feel here, so let's just get a big vertical going here. It has to feel like it's really deep. Of course, it's sort of narrower at the bottom, I think. It doesn't really look too good yet, but we'll get there. Hopefully. That's the goal. So yeah, everything that we did here can just go. It's just I think use this to get a bunch of verticals going, and then currently it doesn't look like anything, I know, but it will look like something at some point in the near future. Do I want to have this all stacked though? Probably not. We probably want this to go all the way down to the bottom. So yeah, we have to sort of figure out where the bottom is and how that goes. Probably should start working with a lasso tool here. Let me think. So we kind of want to have this as our horizon line. No, not really. Want to have this as our horizon line. So we can go quite a bit higher with these, I think. We probably have to add some height variation there. Could throw in a city texture, but I think that would be I think that's too early to do that. Let's try and figure out where this canyon actually, where the bottom is. So I think I want this to be bottom. Roughly. So something like this. So let's give it a color, shall we? This is the bottom, and from there it's actually quite challenging. Hopefully we'll get there. Because I drew the bottom here, but it goes up here to a certain height. Let's say something like this. Goes up to a certain height, but it goes up to a certain height here as well, and the same goes for here. So let's say that go like this. Let's not worry about too much about the shape yet. And then something like that. This is all buildings. Yes. Same goes for the other side. So yeah, we probably have some ways to let the road show through. Or the bottom, or however we want to call it. Maybe I should make it a little bit more straight, so that we have some variation there. I think I'm gonna be really just this area here. And now we can start to sort of make some structure into it. Luckily, we still have a bit of this orange light left. Let's try to. What scale do we want this? We actually want this to be quite huge. I'm not really happy with this big blob here. Let's change that because that's not cool. I think I want to make the road a little bit wider here without these big something like that. Well, maybe we'll go further down later, but for now this is okay. We'll probably want to go as high as that. So it's probably better. Expected correct on this one. Let's try to bring in some color variation already, because we have to do that there as well. Yeah, orange glow, because there's a lot of light here on the front. Well, that's the plan at least. So they're lit up from the front, so let's try to keep that there. Maybe some of this light as well. And overall they can probably darken a little. So yeah, it looks like a mess at this point. I don't know whether it's a good idea to throw in a city texture or not. Let's see. I don't know whether it will help. Choose. Just to have something to work off. Something like this, Tokyo maybe. Very saturated these colors, so it's a bit of an issue. But we can tone that down. It's probably gonna be quite sci-fi. Yeah, this is actually a really cool one, I think. You only need the top. Get it right. So. Throw it on there. And see what we can do with it. Perspective isn't correct, but I probably should get individual buildings out. Something strange. Oh, that's not strange. But this is sort of the thing that we want to achieve. Can maybe throw it on here as well. This side it works a lot better, I think. And maybe just to have some texture going. Work. You have to make sure that it still feels like a canyon though, and not as a regular city. So hopefully we can achieve that. It's a new challenge for me, new sort of perspective. Yeah, now let's design out this this thing. We have enough information on the canvas now to start painting. So in the distance, it's probably gonna be quite dark here. I think I'm gonna let it. There you saw a big lag on the brush. So it's sort of back there. There's also a city and a canyon still. Probably with sunlight coming from it. Goes all the way to here. We probably won't really see much from the textures that we just sort of threw on. So I'm just gonna paint over them, just to have a color variation to get going. Not sure which building style I'm gonna use. I kind of like. I'm really into Eastern Japanese buildings lately, so maybe I'm gonna do that. Korean, Japanese, it's all a little bit. Well, some expert is probably gonna disagree with me, but for me as a European, it's all the same. Asian. Let's just call it Asian. These sort of stacked roofs and stuff like that. I'm not sure if I want to give it a modern look or a fantasy look, but it's sort of that doesn't really matter too much because we can sort of change that as we go along. If we want a modern look, we just put in some shiny stuff and glass and lights and stuff like that. If we go for a more fantasy look, we'll just throw in maybe some greens and some well, light as well, but from fires and like that. When we want a modern scene, we'll I thought, yeah, there we go. Sort of shifted. The modern scene is probably gonna be more blues and the lights a lot more bright. So yeah, these houses are all stacked on each other. As you can see, it's mostly just a bunch of, of triangles that I'm painting now. I think I'm gonna add quite a lot of sort of fog down the bottom. I think I'm gonna make this further down. I think I'm gonna do this all the way down. So this is sort of the canyon, and we're not gonna go like that because then it will feel like a city with a square, city square. I think we can use some of these to add some elements, add some brush is reasonably slow, but I think we want more. Yeah, I really like this orange. So I want to keep that going, and we're gonna get this going down to very low as well, and the same goes for this. So yeah, it really feels like a big canyon. So yeah, we finally have a really good idea of what we want. So that's good. It gives a lot of how do you say it? Gives a lot of space in the head that we don't have to sort of figure out composition anymore and the subject matter, and we all got that figured out now, so now we can actually worry about the painting itself. So figure out how we're gonna put that down on the canvas and how we're gonna communicate that idea that we have in our head to the viewer. It's really fun to sort of enter that stage and sort of almost that victorious thought of, yes, I finally know what I'm doing here, and it's coming together. And in your head, well, at least that goes for me. I don't know how that is for other painters, but in your head that you're already sort of a couple of steps ahead now with your painting. You have this image forming of what it will become or what you want it to become. All you have to do now is put down the brush strokes to get there. So yeah, it took the better part of half an hour, a bit more even, to sort of get to this stage and figure that out. But now that we've figured it out, we can almost sort of start to sit back and relax, because there's not too much designing here to do, because the design is almost done for us. Because we're following a certain building style, yeah, we could look up some references, but I don't really. Why is it doing that? Am I pressing sort of a button on the pen? I don't. So yeah, we could look up some reference and things like that. But I kind of want to give it my own style. So if it doesn't really perfectly sort of match the architectural style that is in architecture, then that's okay, because it's my own work. It's fantasy or sci-fi. I think I want it more fantasy-like. Although sci-fi would be kind of cool, but that's really cool about this painting. We can do either one. And we don't really have to decide that just yet. So yeah, today is all about putting sort of everything in. Sort of do the basic design, do the basic, make sure that the composition is what we want it to be. And there we go, it does it again. Is it? Ah, it's... has something to do with me pressing Control Alt Z. Because if you press Control Z, it goes back one step. But if you want to sort of, I'm going so fast sometimes that I have to go back 3 or 4 steps. My brush strokes. So I'm sort of used to always pressing Control Alt Z. But if you press them all and you sort of keep them pressed, get this thing there. So yeah, we learned something. So let's get going. Yeah, it's just basically filling this thing with little triangles, with little roofs, and we're not gonna paint each individual roof just yet. We're gonna sort of figure out where they are, and let's sort of, yeah, figure the composition out, and then on Friday we will actually fully paint these out. Now it's just composition and the colors and the values. So yeah, I think this has the potential to become a really cool painting. Which is so slow. Annoying. Yeah, I'm probably gonna reinstall Photoshop between now and Friday at least this week and see whether it fixes itself. And if not, I probably have to assume that it's a hardware issue. Then it will become a tedious job of finding out which piece of hardware is causing the issue. So let's hope it's software related, because that's a lot cheaper. Fix than if it is hardware related. I'm not ready to replace hardware. As you can see, in most of the places you can't really see the yeah, you can see the texture in of course coming through, but I haven't really used it for anything other than the color. I haven't used it for the design or anything. But I really like to just throw on a texture to have some base of a color where I can pick from instead of figuring it out on my own. I probably should learn it a little bit better, color theory and things like that. But I work a lot better when I can actually see the things in front of me. So I think most artists are visually call that work with visual. Is that a good way to say it? Visual brain power? Not really sure, but it seems that there are certain people, when you say tree, they see the word tree in their head. I can't really imagine how that works, but so yeah, that's sort of the difference between visually and, I don't know the other English term for it, verbally, probably. Programmed, is that a term? Probably not. I'm not really entirely happy with this being perfectly straight. So we're probably gonna do either this or this. The good thing of it is that we could make some bridges, but I think we should fix that. I mean, this is just filling in the blanks with more houses and stuff like that. I think that the real challenge here is to get this design sort of figured out before we finish today. Because I have this issue that I don't work enough on the design of a painting, and then at a certain point when you're sort of starting to refine everything, you figure out that something not working. I think we're gonna make this like so. Of course, here and we have to separate the foreground and the background a little bit better. So yeah, there's gonna be quite a lot of atmospheric fog here. This is probably something, sort of a tower that we want more on the foreground. Same goes for this big boy. And this is something that we probably want more in the background. So let's well, first let's see what we did with painting. So this is what we started with just the ID, and you can't really see the canyon unless it's sort of in your head. And then with a bit of paint, not even that much. If you check the paint, it's just not that much. I think it's coming together quite nicely. So yeah, I'm gonna work on a new layer for this, just in case. But gotta be too careful here. So early in the painting, and it's really good to do all this separation, all the values and stuff like that early in the painting, so you don't have to. Yeah, you can fix it later. Of course, I mean the lasso tool is a powerful tool. You can use the magnetic lasso to increase sort of your precision when painting. Really serious. I'm working on the wrong layer. I'm working on the border layer. That's not good. That was that's not something that was meant to happen. Oh, we'll fix that layer. We'll add a new border around the painting. It's okay. It's okay. Let's see. Do we want this to be? Something like that. And maybe we can a little bit darker. Want to overdo it. We have this layer to check values. It's gonna be some highlights on here, so this is all the same value. Let's think. Sort of the canyon. Let's darken this up a little bit. I think the road in the middle needs to be darker as well. Needs to blend in terms of color. So let's make that darker as well. Then we have to, of course, we have to separate this again. As you can see, there's still a lot of work to do here. The beginning is there. Starting to get going. I kind of want this on a new layer set to fly, because then we don't really lose any detail. Go. Get selecting canvas and do want to lose a little bit of detail back here to the multiply layer. There we go. I think that is quite a bit better than what we had before. So this is sort of okay. And now we have a lot more depth to the painting itself. And we can add a little bit more by sort of adding, separate this. Background as well. I want this. No, I don't want to. Lighter. Let's use the multiply. It's a fairly dark color. Oops. Juggling the layers. And then want to select the first. Oh, really? Select this. Something like that. Selecting the wrong layer. Something like this. Then we have a little bit of separation here as well. And then we can add a new layer on top. And start painting on that layer again. Sort of use the newly found sort of separations and so am I painting on that? Or to pick the right color. Of course, there's gonna be tons of lights down here and here as well, all over the place. So yeah, I think we have quite a good base to continue working on. Let's work on it a little bit longer, and then we're gonna call it a day. We'll continue on Friday. I really like this. Sort of this idea of working on one painting at a time for the streams. Just makes things a lot easier. I don't have to juggle between the different pieces, and which normally I quite like to change it up every now and again, but yeah, it just takes a lot longer to finish 4 paintings than it does to finish 1. We'd have to spend, let's say, 4 weeks of live streaming on the same 4 images. So you're looking at the same thing for 4 weeks. That's not really entertaining. Well, I assume it. So this way you get a fresh image every week. So that's from now on the sort of the goal and the schedule. I think we need to do more defining here. I have a quite good idea of how this works down here. And this stage is really important for me to, set it up so I know what I want where. It might not be entirely clear yet for the viewer, but hopefully it will become a lot clearer in the next week. And the more brush strokes I put down, the clearer it will become, hopefully. So slow, and I quickly put down multiple strokes, short period of time. Yeah, I really like it. I really like this one. I'm not sure if I'm too happy with the background currently, but yeah, that's the background. Not too important yet. I really like the color and the tone of the city. So that's shop again. So that's good. Sort of design of the canyon here back as well. As you can see, it's sort of significantly slowing down now. It seems the longer I work on something, the further it slows down. Is that a hard drive issue or just software related? I don't know. Some figuring out to do this week. Tiny darker. Yeah, this part is currently the part I'm the least happy about. Let's work on that as long as sort of the brush still sort of with me here, because that's a challenge for it now. Keep up. It's also probably me just being faster with the brush than I was in the beginning. Tend to speed up my painting the longer I'm working on something, because you sort of build the confidence, and as soon as you have a certain level of confidence, you're just getting faster and faster and faster. But no, if that goes for every painter or designer, but for me it's certainly the case. And my ADD kicks in. and an hour, or a little, like 3/4 of an hour, my concentration just sort of starts to fade away, and then I'm just starting to sort of, I wouldn't say lose control, but I'm going on a sort of a rampage. the brush. And now this is really frustrating because I have to deliberately slow down to let the brush keep up. Let me demonstrate this. So I'm done. You can see as soon as I stop, the brush still has to travel quite a while, and it even goes for short brush strokes. Especially the, let's do this. Quick short brush strokes. It just, for some reason, it just can't keep up. I don't know why. I don't know what's causing it, but I didn't have it like 1 week ago. It turned up last week, and I don't know. I have to figure out what it is. But hopefully Google can help me. But with these sort of smaller details, it's really annoying because then I'm moving quite fast and just can't keep up. And it's not because of the recording or because of the live stream, because when I'm not streaming, it's doing the same. When I'm just using Photoshop without any recording, without any streaming, it's having the same issues. So it's not related to that. So I don't think it's CPU related, because the recording and streaming, the decoding is done by my CPU, and the recording and streaming seems to be perfectly fine. So I don't think it's the CPU. So it's maybe a RAM issue, but I don't know why, or a graphics card issue. But if I look at the sort of the workload of the graphics card, it doesn't make sense because it's at a 30% workload or something. So it doesn't seem to be the graphics card that's the issue. So I don't think it's the CPU. I don't think it's the graphics card. So that's actually really good. If it isn't the CPU nor the graphics card, that in terms of if I have to replace hardware in terms of money, that's the best case scenario. But yeah, what is it? I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out. Hopefully before Friday. Let's see. So yeah, while I'm rambling about my my issues and all these sad stories, just slowly but surely, sort of adding in stuff and refining stuff. So I actually already sort of started with the cleanup. So I think I'm happy with the design. There's not really that much that I'd like to change. So yeah, from now on it's just clean up everything and then can call it done. Of course, we can spend as much time almost as we want on this. We could make it photorealistic if you spend a long time. But as I said before, ADD, so nope, it's not gonna happen. It's just way too much time for me to. I get burned out of painting in like 4 hours tops, probably. Then I want to be well on the way with a new one. It's probably not the ideal combination. I want to have some more blue accents on this one, and then we will add some of those orange lights later. The background can use some love. I think the main reason that the background isn't really working is because of the fact that it is sort of, the level of detail is higher in the background currently than it is in the foreground. So the way to fix that is just to grab a brush and to paint, sort of repaint the background to settle it in, and to make it sort of the same or even less in terms of detail level than the foreground, because you want to have the most detail level at the focal point, and that's usually somewhere in the foreground. So the level of detail in the background doesn't really matter much. Or you want it to be as high or lower as in the focal point foreground. Not higher, not like this. It's a bit hard to explain, but since it's a photograph, you have a sort of the highest amount of detail per pixel, so to say. That's not that's not a way to say it, because a pixel can only show one color, but or let's say if you have a little square of 10 by 10 pixels, the amount of variation in color in the pixels is a lot higher here in the background than it is foreground, and that's, you zoom in, you can clearly see that. See, there's all these little streaks of dark and light, and when we go to the foreground, it's just one color. So yeah, we want to fix that. Otherwise it doesn't look right. So that's important when you use photo textures. Make sure to blend them correctly with your painting. So yeah, that's probably about it for today. I think I'm gonna wrap it up quite soon. I enjoyed it a lot, actually. Well, the first 30 minutes were a pain, were just struggle. But as soon as sort of the ID sparked and we could start with the ID, and especially when sort of the ID sort of came together, it really was, I'd say, smooth sailing, but it was a lot of fun from that point on. And gonna continue on Friday, and then we're gonna finish it. Whatever, however that's gonna look, see. But yeah, we still have an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to work on it, and then we have to call it done. So we'll see what we can end up with on Friday. Maybe I'll do a little bit of work, a little bit of cleanup between episodes, but I always have good intentions, but normally it doesn't really happen. So we'll probably have the same product as we have now on Friday. I will, however, create a new border around it, because we did something wrong with the layers. We selected the wrong layer to paint on, but that's okay. That's not a big deal. It's okay. We'll just add a new one. All right, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. I really do, and I really like this sort of new concept. I think it's a lot better, and hopefully, yeah, can continue. And I see you on Friday. Bye.